Up across the 15, cuts left at the 20, on the room at the 30, headed to the near sideline, one man to beat, makes the move at midfield, coming to the near side at the 30, he's at the 20, he's at the 10, 5, touchdown, Kentucky!
And with that, we're off and running with another episode of Believe in Kentucky, alongside Aaron Gershon from the Cats-Jayhawks, former UK QB, Jalen Whitlow. Fellas, how y'all doing?
Good, man. It's busy, but it's good.
No doubt about that.
For sure. We're coming to y'all courtesy the Believe Podcast Network, Believe.com, BLEAV.com. We're live streaming the Believe Kentucky on our Twitter account, Facebook, YouTube. Jump in here, throw some questions at us, some comments. Follow, subscribe, hit the little 5 stars, rate, whatever you want to do. We appreciate all the support and the retweets and telling your friends, word of mouth, old school style, all that good stuff. We definitely appreciate it. Go get into Mississippi State and Alabama and New Mexico State on the basketball side. Kentucky women got a win. Volleyball is rolling, all that. Before we get into all that, first and foremost, AG, your guy, Gabriel, friend of this podcast, just on here with us.
Yeah,
I saw him post on Facebook that he's had a quadruple
he's having a
bypass.
Yeah, surgery's tomorrow morning. I just found out. Actually, I found out when the Facebook post was put up, and I texted him right away. So, yeah, that's scary. I'm glad they found it, and that it's going to hopefully get resolved here tomorrow morning, and he'll be on the road to recovery. But that's very scary. And I love Dick, man. He's him and Curtis Birch are the reason I have the job I have today. They got me started co-hosting the Big Blue Insider, writing for that site, pretty much taking over that site for 2 years there. So a lot of love for Dick. Obviously, I'm on with him every Monday. We'll miss having him in there on Mondays. It sounds like it's me and Billy Rutledge on Monday nights. So I'm excited to take that on and handle that for him. But man, that's definitely scared me pretty good when I saw that. I'm just praying for the best tomorrow morning and through his recovery there.
Yeah, exactly. He'd been on here a couple of times. Was just on here last week, and I saw the post, gonna have some best of shows. I'm like, okay, taking a vacation or doing this and that. And then I'm like, oh man, and said that if what they found had been left unattended, he said it would have took him out of here. So
no, that was a scary one to read, but I'm very thankful that they found it, and hopefully tomorrow goes very well. And like I said, he'll be on the road to recovery, and we'll get him back here in no time. But I know the sidelines will miss him the rest of the season here. It won't. As we love Tom, definitely love Jeff and Tom, but it ain't gonna be the same without Dick on the sidelines the rest of the year.
Yeah, and that was one of the things. When I had him on, knew we were going to talk about the current stuff with UK. That was coming off the bye week before Tennessee is when it had him on. Going to talk about all that. Of course, look, he knows everything inside and out. Been covering it for decades. But I also wanted to ask him stuff about him. And I how did you aspire to be the sideline reporter? Did it just kind of happen? So he went into all that, how he came to get that job, and his words. He said, I don't know if I could watch a game in a press box now. He said, unless it's open, because he likes where I can hear. He likes being out there in the stadium on the sidelines. Talks about why he gets where he gets. Sometimes he wants to be ahead of the ball. Sometimes he wants to line up and see what the defense is doing, because where he's at is not the greatest view,
right?
Because your field level.
Got some ginormous humans in front of him too.
So it was just fun hearing it from. I mean, he's been doing it 35 years, man.
Yeah,
and
man.
So, what are you thinking about? Because every time it's an ESPN game, Stoops goes and talks to whoever it is on the sideline for ESPN, and immediately after that, he goes right to Dick Gabriel. You'll see Dick on TV getting ready, and so I'm like, how do you formulate your questions? What are you thinking? Do you just want to ask, hey, we're doing this good, how do we keep it going? Or we're struggling here, how do you improve? And he went into all of the little stuff that how he does what he does. And it was really cool just hearing him talk. And he told stories and stuff from about different times. And so it was really, really fun getting to talk to him. And, we just, like I said, thoughts and prayers, and hope he has a speedy recovery and gets past this health issue that he's going through right now for sure. So
Yeah,
had to start with that, man.
No, I'm glad you did. Absolutely.
No doubt, man.
Yeah. And I was initially going to start with, some other Kentucky stuff going on too. Friend of the podcast, Jimmy Mahan, who does the Kentucky Roadshow card shop, is on TV as we speak. He's on Pawn Stars. They've been in Lexington. This show is 2 hours. It came on at 8. They've been in and around Lexington filming, looks like, for a few days, and people bringing their antique this. And, a lady was trying to sell some bourbon barrels, some Buffalo bourbon barrels, and all kind of stuff. So, but they just went to Jimmy's shop, and he's got all the memorabilia. And if y'all guys haven't been there, you got to go. Jimmy's nice as he can be. When Tony Delk hosted this podcast with me, he knew Jimmy, and he just sent me his info, and I didn't know what he was talking about. And he was talking about having Jimmy on the podcast. We had him on, talked about his shop there on Romney Road. It's really cool, man. I mean, if you like a sneakerhead, you got the game worn sneakers, jerseys, cards, of course. Different cards. All of that, man, is a lot of players, current and former, go there and do signings for NIL. Oscar Shibwe goes there, and C-Rod was there. Different guys will go there to his shop and set up. So it's a really cool dude, and it's cool to see him on Pawn Stars right now, and cool to see Kentucky on Pawn Stars.
Yeah, that's literally, his shop's probably a mile or a mile and a half away from my apartment. So I haven't been there yet. I go down Romney Road over there to eat at Suggins all the time. It's one of my girlfriend and I's favorite spot in town. So I gotta get on that. I gotta get in there.
I'll have to add that to the list.
Yeah, Suggins it's just old school, man. You feel like you're going back in time in there, but it's a little hole in the wall, just American place that it's a good time. I was there the SEC championship game that Tua went down and Hurts went in, and Alabama came back and beat Georgia, and it was like we ended up staying for a while because it was just a horrible thunderstorm and the lights were flickering, but the TVs stayed working, and that was one of the more fun SEC championship games in recent memory. So I've definitely hung out on Romney Road, but I got to get over to the card shop show over there.
Yeah, you get a free evening or a free Saturday. It's gonna be a while if you get a free Saturday, but yeah, pop in there and it's cool, man. I went. He wasn't there, but the guys he had run the store were there, and I texted him. He was up at like a card show in New York, and he's like, "Oh man, hey, I missed you." And he texted me right then. He was like, "Look, if Oscar's gonna be here doing a signing, if you want to come do your podcast and interview him," and I'm not close enough to Lexington to be able to jump back and do that.
Right.
I would have loved to have been able to do that, but that's how nice this dude is. He's the nicest guy. Deserves everything he's getting from being on here and all the success he's had. So. Y'all come to Lexington, y'all definitely go and check him out for sure. And Aaron just gave Jalen a food recommendation. We've been doing it for a while. Y'all that listen, DM Jalen food recommendations for when he comes back to Lexington for a spring practice or to see the new football facilities there at UK. That's one of the little running themes we've had. Give Jalen some restaurant recommendations in Lex.
Yeah, and any. I mean, it's been so long since I've been there, and I just want to know. It's just all the new places where you can go and just check out, man. That I have, that's new within the last 6 years, 5-6 years, that I can go and check out. I'm sure there's a lot of them, but
I was gone a year and there were new things when I came back. So
yeah, I mean, and I say that, man, I haven't even seen a new football facility.
I know you. Yeah.
I definitely want to see the new indoor. I mean, because we were used to, running in the corner of the zone and running on the track. They don't have to deal with that now. So, I definitely want to check that out.
Yeah, for sure. So definitely get up there and see all the new stuff for sure. So we had to talk with Gabriel and Jimmy Mahan right off the top. AG, you fresh off the Starkville trip. Got a win down there for the first time since 2008.
Yeah, look, they did what they had to do. That Mississippi State team, as we talked about last week, is just without lack of better words, not very good. Offensively, they're a mess. I mean, what was it? 7-3 was their lone SEC win over Arkansas. They come out of the bye and they only put up 13 at Auburn, and then obviously this game Kentucky holds them to 3. And I thought, first of all, the crowd really at the beginning was just electric. You know, they were honoring the 98 SEC West team, and the cowbells were ringing. I had the earplugs in with the outdoor press box there, but Kentucky, you know, obviously scores right away there on their first drive after 3 and out. And then, you know, the second quarter, you could feel the momentum swinging State's way. Kentucky, you know, allows that 20-play yard drive. Credit to the defense for holding them to a field goal at the end of that. And then Kentucky goes 3 and out, and you're like, okay, like this is getting into the danger zone a little bit for Kentucky. And after a 20-play drive that lasted for like 12 minutes, a 1-play pick-6 drive from De'Aaron Jackson, and the air got taken out of Davis-Wade Stadium after that, man. You could just Mississippi State, the fan base kind of knows where that program's kind of heading. Zach Arnett really might end up being a one and done. You know, the athletic director is not the one that hired him there. His buyout's not very large, and that's a tough situation, man. I feel bad for Zach Arnett. I feel bad for those kids. That program's obviously been through a lot with Mike Leach's passing, but Kentucky had to go down there and take advantage. You know, their season. You know, I think if they had lost that game, we'd be talking for the first time on this pod about the possibility of them losing out. So they couldn't afford for that to happen, and they got a big win, 24-3. They kind of took the gas. I felt like they kind of took the foot off the gas, and Mark Stoops even admitted so in the second half. But, you know, they did what they had to do, and just talking to the guys this week, man, you know, there's a lot more juice in the building, and part of that is because Alabama's coming to town. But I think just getting a win, they needed to get that winning feeling back. It had been since September 30th against Florida. It'd been a long time. So 6-3 going bowling for an 8th straight win, or 8th straight year rather. And now you've got the chance of a lifetime on Saturday. It's going to be a lot easier said than done. But man, do they have an opportunity right in front of them?
Yeah, I think you know, with this opportunity they have right in front of them, I think, you know, the good thing is you can catch, you get a game where, you know, you play really well most of the game. You get a team that's coming off 2 really emotional games, and especially last week playing LSU. So maybe you can get them to walk into Lexington without, you know, I mean, I know you got guys down on the defensive side of the ball for Alabama as well. So maybe you can get those guys coming into Lexington sleepwalking a little bit and, you know, see what you can do. But, you know, as we know, it's going to be a challenging game, physical game. Alabama's always loaded with NFL talent. So you know how that is. But, you know, the good thing is I think Devin Leary has kind of turned the corner a little bit. You know, that throw he made to Demi in the back of the zone.
Man.
Hey, that's one of the sexiest throws I've ever seen.
He had a couple, man. I mean, that one, obviously, the slant to Dane for the touchdown. I know it's a short pass, but perfectly placed. And, you know, the scramble drill ones. But even I think his best scramble drill play of the day was the one it didn't get completed. Dane Key kind of let it go at the end there. But right after he took that hit that ended up knocking him out for the fourth quarter, he was able to get out of a sack, and he found Dane in the corner of the end zone and put it right on him, and Dane just couldn't control it into the ground there. I thought Devin played another great game. I know the yardage was only 156, but you didn't play the whole fourth quarter. They kind of called off the dogs, kind of knowing that Mississippi State's offense was pretty inept there, and they weren't going to really be a threat to come back. So I think we've seen 2 straight weeks of the Devin Leary we were expecting, you know, this offseason.
No doubt. It's going to be critical that they be able to create some balance on offense this week. You know, I think, you know, with him throwing the ball that well, and I just got done listening to Nick Saban talk, he was saying how, you know, how challenging it is to defend an offense that can play so many personnel groupings, that has such good balance, you know, can run the ball, can obviously throw it. Obviously, they want to get back to running the ball a little bit better than they had the past 2 weeks. But I think when you got a quarterback who can throw it, and when you know, kind of unleash him and let him throw it, maybe you can loosen Alabama up a little bit and allow the game to get back going. Because, you know, you want to see your guy Davis get back going. Ray Davis needs to get back in the fold when it comes to, you know, putting up the numbers that he can put up. You know, when he put up numbers, it's pretty evident that they are rolling, you know, and they hard to stop. Now you got the quarterback and the receivers on the same page. And, you know, you may get some. But like I said, you know, that throw to Demi, people, you know, I was so impressed by that. People don't realize how hard that is back there in the back of the end zone. I mean, that is a NFL. That's a tough throw.
Yeah, no, that was elite ball placement.
Yeah. I mean, absolutely elite. Most people can't do that. That's really good ball control, really good ball placement. He layered it over the guy. We say as quarterbacks, we say high back five. Anything in the back five of the end zone got to be high. And he placed that absolutely. I mean, Demi's not a tall guy.
No, not at all. Can't confirm.
Yeah, he put that thing right over and then dropped right. I mean, that's just, I nerded out on that one. That was a good one.
Yeah, that was a dot, man. And again, with Ray, I mean, they don't need 280 yards like they got. That'd be nice, but they're not going to get that again, probably. But I think the stat. It's more so the yards per carry, right? He was averaging going into the bye week 6.4 yards per carry. The last two games, I think it's 3.1 yards per carry. So they got to get him going a little bit. I think, Tennessee and their defensive coordinator said it after the game too, where their plan was to load the box and make Devin in the passing game beat them. And the passing game did beat them, but Kentucky's defense couldn't do enough to win that game. And then last week, that 3-3-5 scheme, they kind of alluded to it in the press conferences, Liam Cohen and Scott Woodward, even the wide receivers coach, that it was going to be a little tough to run. And how would that scheme, what guys you got to get your hands on blocking wise could be confusing. You'll have a Mike linebacker where Woodward was talking about how the wide receivers, you don't tell them to ever block a Mike linebacker, but since the Mike linebacker in that scheme is going to be lining up in the nickel, sometimes you have to block them. So there's all sorts of things, I think, in run protection that weren't great, but they did break up a couple of long runs. I know there were a couple of runs that set up the touchdown drive on the slant today, and there was a 14-yard run in there for Ray. So it was a little bit better this week, but like you said, Jalen, it's got to be closer to what we saw at the beginning of the year while the pass game continues to do what it's done the last 2 weeks.
Now, like Aaron said, 6-3, bowl eligible. You get a win. You win in a place you hadn't won in a long time. You erase the 3-game losing streak. All that. Big opportunity on the table. From my standpoint, you come out and just play loose and free versus Alabama. Just let it all hang out. Is that easier said than done, Jalen? Or can you just come out and just play free and just no pressure and just ball? Or is it still a tendency to want to be tight? What's the mindset going to be?
Yeah, it's always easier said than done, right? I mean, from a coach's perspective, that sounds good until you're playing.
Oh, that was quick. Okay.
Yeah, that sounds good until you're playing so free that things become careless. So you don't want to do that, but you do want to kind of let it hang, man. Because look, at the end of the day, you're playing Alabama. So you got to let it hang. To have a chance to win the game, I always, kind of look at it from this standpoint. To win the game, you got to try to win the game. So you got to be aggressive. It's no way you're not going to sit back and be passive and beat a team like Alabama or Georgia. Right. It don't happen. You got to try to be aggressive. You got to try to attack them, create some chunk plays, get some explosives, get some tackles for loss, maybe create some turnovers, maybe get a big play on special teams with a punt block. You got to do that type of stuff. You have to add some razzle-dazzle to the game because at the end of the day, they have better players. And that's not a secret. They have better players. So what are you going to do to kind of, nullify that? What are you going to do to create some balance on the field? Create some parity. You have to sometimes be a little bit unorthodox. Sometimes you have to be extra aggressive. But again, there's a fine line between being super aggressive and being careless with the ball. But, I don't see how you win this game without trying to win the game. And you have to take shots. You got to go for the throat, man. And I just think that's just the mentality you got to have when you play these type of games. Because and we saw it in the Kansas State and Texas game Saturday. Kansas State got it overtime. They had the ball. What was it? What was the ball? Inside the 5.
Yeah, I didn't get to catch the. Yeah, I
didn't. And
that sounds right.
Yeah, it was 4th down, overtime. Kansas State was playing better in the second half than Texas, and Kansas State decided to go for it because they know the most talented team usually win the longer the game goes. So, you want to try to take your shots and go for it right now and go get it. So that's just the approach that I would have, but we'll see.
Yeah, I agree totally. And I also think too, though, Kentucky's got to do a better job than it did against Georgia and even Tennessee of striking the balance, right? I think Tennessee, there was a play that stands out to me where they were, I'm saying striking the balance is not doing too much, right? Georgia, you had the 3 unsportsmanlike conduct penalties where Jagger Burton pancakes a guy after the play's over. Deion Walker decks a guy after the play's over. Stupid things like that. You can't give a team like Georgia extra yardage. Against Tennessee, it wasn't the penalties, but Zion Childress. There was a play, I think it was the 49-yard pass to Deontay Thompson, the receiver, the transfer from Oregon, where Milroe is able to escape. He throws into the middle of the field, and Zion had good coverage, but he broke for the ball instead of staying on his man. If he stays on the defender, that's an easy breakup. I don't even know if that ball with the traffic, I don't know if Thompson has a chance to catch it. Instead, Zion bites for the ball, goes for the pick, tries to be the hero. Easy, pitch and catch, ends up a 49-yard play. I forgot what the result of the drive was, if it was a touchdown or a field goal, but Tennessee scored. So you can't do too much, but yeah, everything's got to be on the table in this type of game where there is a clear talent gap. Alabama has a talent gap against everyone they play pretty much. Kentucky's definitely included in that, and Alabama's playing their best ball of the season right now. So you got to pull out all the stops, but you can't do too much and get too emotional. Where I think that's kind of hurt. We obviously know all the discipline issues, and that's been better lately. But I think that's where Kentucky's gotten into some trouble compared to last year. I think when Kentucky got into trouble last year, you could kind of feel like you felt like guys' heads weren't really in the game at times. The Georgia game they were, but like against Vandy, against what was another loss in South Carolina, there was some, I don't want to say give up, but you could definitely see plays where on tape the effort wasn't where it needed to be. I think this year the effort, even in the Georgia game, has been great, but it's been guys getting too emotional and trying to do too much that has kind of hurt Kentucky a little bit. And that's what's led to the stupid penalties, the unsportsmanlike conducts, the stuff after the play. We even saw it on all these, kick returns against Mississippi State. It felt like one team or another was getting fouled after the play, getting a personal foul call after the play. So you got to channel those emotions. But like you said, Jalen, man, everything's got to be on the table. If there are some trick plays you're confident in the playbook, they got to be run. If there's some personnel that maybe you haven't unleashed yet, maybe like a Brandon White or Kel Crowdis, a guy that's a burner that maybe you can take a shot to, this is the week to do it. Like, the only 2 teams you'll have a bowl game, but South Carolina, I feel like you can beat. It doesn't matter how much you put on tape, and I'm still confident in their chances, at least against Louisville too. So this is the game where I think you unleash the beast here.
No doubt.
And 6-3, but just maybe a game off of where most people had them. Probably would have had them 7-2 at this point.
I think I had them at 6-3. Just I had them losing in Starkville. I didn't know they'd be this bad, and then beating Missouri.
Okay, so
for what it's worth,
they're right where you thought.
We're right where I thought.
Okay. And I don't know if I think I ended up saying 9-3, so that might be. Yeah. But it's I think because
we're right about where we thought they'd be.
Yeah,
whether a game off or on it.
Not crazy far off and nothing drastic, even though
right.
It was a 3-game losing streak and it sucked, and but still not far off of where everybody, if they're being honest, would have thought they would be.
Yeah, this is where we're thought, and there's still a chance, man. I mean, even if you lose this game, if you get to 8 wins by beating South Carolina and Louisville, again, easier said than done with how Louisville's playing and that environment at night in Columbia. But 8 wins is They've had 2 9-win, not counting the Bulls. They've had 2 9-win regular seasons. Those are the best 2 under Stoops. So this would be the 3rd best regular season in terms of wins in the Stoops era. There's still a lot to play for. And, the quote that Deion Walker had today is that this was a chance. I'm forgetting the word he used, but it was really interesting. It kind of told you how, it was to, I think, leave their legacy for this season, I believe, to paraphrase. Like, this is a game on Saturday where if we win, this season will have an impact in this school's history because they've only beaten Alabama twice ever. Once was in I think 1923. Something like that,
22.
and then 22, and then 1997.
Mm-hmm.
So this is something that hasn't been done. Alabama is coming in here. I think they win the SEC West with a win. They are pretty much on their way to the playoff, or not the playoffs, but the SEC championship game with a win and in playoff game down in Atlanta. Like they have everything to lose. Kentucky has nothing to lose, but they do have a lot to gain. So it's as fun of a matchup. And for the fans, man, and not only is it senior day, but Alabama, the last time Alabama played in Lexington, Jalen Whitlow was a Kentucky Wildcat. So you played in that game, I believe. So it's a rare opportunity for the players. It's a rare opportunity for the fans. Like this is it's fun. I'm really excited to see Alabama roll in here on Saturday.
Yeah, and like I said, don't play them every year, but the 2 victories 75 years apart is still that is
unbelievable.
You know,
yeah, it was what was the losing streak? 26, something like that,
so,
right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even 97, and then went down there in the COVID year, and
that doesn't count.
And then before that,
2016,
34 to 7 was up there.
34 to 3, and Kentucky was winning 3-0. So they were winning in that game. No, the COVID year one though, like I'm joking when I say it doesn't count, but Kentucky had 20 guys out with COVID, including C-Rod, including Brendan Bates, who was the starter that year. Like they were a total mess, and going into play the national champions, I throw that one out.
Like a sacrificial lamb, man.
Yeah. They were just fed to the wolves. And they got down to the goal line on one drive, and they couldn't punch it in. Settled for third. I think they ended up actually the field goal. I think the snap was bad, and it went over their head. I think they would have got it. They would have had 10 points on the night if that didn't happen. But that game, man, I don't remember much other than the scoreboard.
So just to put a bow on it, we think back to when they beat Louisville at Louisville with Lamar.
Yeah.
Louisville scores go up 7-0. Everybody sees the clip of Steven Johnson under center. I love this. Is that the epitome of playing free? Because then they hit him deep and tied the game up. And if they don't score there, maybe it gets out of hand and maybe they don't win the game. That drive was crucial to how the complexion of that game went. Because we'll never know because they scored. But he wasn't overwhelmed. He wasn't shocked.
There was no fear.
Yeah. So that's kind of maybe
that's how you got to come out, man.
Yeah.
And I do think it's different in the sense that this game is at home. I think that does help. There's not going to be a Sanford Stadium at night animal element like that place. I mean, I've been to a couple of these premier venues now, whether we're talking Knoxville in a sellout, Florida in a sellout, and that there's just nothing that compared to Sanford at night for me yet. So even Willie B down in South Carolina in a sellout, like this was just something else. So they ran into, and Georgia, I still think, Georgia's played some really good football, obviously, but I still think that was the most complete game Georgia played all year. And we all know how good Georgia is, especially when they're rolling. So, that game, they have a chance to redeem themselves. It's almost like a second opportunity when you get one of these marquee games. And this time it's in your building. It's senior day. It's the last chance to play in front of these fans. And it's going to be juiced up. I think Kentucky, at this point, the noon thing probably helps Kentucky because of how well it went a couple weeks ago with the crowd perspective. So, I mean, look, I'm not picking Kentucky to win this game by any means, but there's at least some, if you want to dream, like there are avenues, I think, with this one compared to maybe if this game was in Tuscaloosa or, in hindsight going into that Georgia game a few weeks ago.
No doubt. Yeah. Again, it's hard to pick Kentucky to win the game. But at the end of the day, I mean, this is one of those games where, you can say it's a trap game. I mean, Kentucky has Alabama is not so far removed this year as far as their play on the field that they had years where they can just walk in and beat you. I don't think this is that year for Alabama, and I think Kentucky is a lot better than the past. So I think if they walk in there, they can get this thing can get interesting. However, like I said, Kentucky has to, be hitting on all cylinders. Because at the end of the day, if you're one-dimensional against a team that has better players, you have zero chance. So, I'm talking come out first play of the game, man. Let it hang.
Let it go.
You don't have to, I'm not saying take a deep shot first play.
No run, pass.
Yeah, I'm saying no, mix it up, add some pizzazz, man, trick them, reverses, give a double move, reverse pass, something to get the guys, at the end of the day, and this is getting into the weeds, but as a player, you feel a lot more, and this is crazy, but you respect your coach more when he's really letting it hang and going for it, right? When you got coaches who call the game uptight and timid, players don't love that, and I've been on both sides of that as a player and a coach. I've had coaches who were very uptight and, didn't want to go for it. I had coaches who absolutely wanted to go for it and throwing the whole bag of tricks out there. And as a coach, I've been a coach who, we had a certain team where I didn't want to make the big mistake. And I've been a coach who we had a team where I will call it all in the first drive. You got you got to go for it, man. Is what I'm saying.
Just be careful with the reverse play, the first play, because that didn't happen. You know where I'm going with that. Well, you don't have to go that far. And I know it was a different circumstance because you're a backup quarterback. No reverse first play. I like the double move, deep shot. Maybe I don't know. Like if it's an empty, not an empty, but if it's a light box, like doing something funky in the run game, or even I know the fans hate it, but if it's a light box, first play of the game, Wildcat, I do all of that before the reverse after what happened last year.
That's fair.
And that was against the crappy South Carolina team.
That's coming from a deep place, man.
That one kind of set the tone for one of the worst nights in Kroger Field in quite a bit.
Gift wrap, man. Gift wrap touchdown.
And give it to that Shane Beamer. You know how I feel about Shane Beamer. I don't want to give him anything.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, both state of South Carolina, man. They got some characters over there.
The fact I like Dabo the best of the two says something.
Yeah, that's true too.
Yeah.
I think I'll flash back to Jalen. You were on the week before or the week after the Tennessee game anyway. When they had as Coach Stoops said, the meeting with themselves, when they had the players only meeting, you been a part of those. How do they go? You pro players only meeting, anti players only meeting? I just wanted to get your thoughts on.
I'm pro all the way, players only meetings, man. At the end of the day, the players are making it. I mean, the players make the program go. I mean, so I'm pro players, but it just depends on what the players only meeting is for. The details. I've been in players only meetings where, they were real productive, and and they don't. People don't call players only meetings to say things negative. I mean, about coaches, but that happens. But players only meetings typically come from leaders who are trying to, say things that they normally wouldn't say in front of the coaches. Not really in a negative way, but just like, kind of get guys to be open and say certain things that, you don't want to say in front of your coach. So, so I've been a part of those, a few of those. I encourage those. If you got a mature team and they need, a reckoning, you got some leaders who you want to call on, and you kind of put that bug in the air, like, hey, maybe we need to call a players only meeting. Or sometimes it's organic and it comes from the players.
Right.
Hey, that's when it's the best though. When it comes from the players and it's organic, it's real, and it's spontaneous. And they call a players only meeting, and typically things change. I don't know what it is about it, but things typically change for the better when players have a players only meeting. Usually that meeting happens when things aren't going well. But when it usually changes for the better. Typically, if you have strong leaders. Now, you have those guys who aren't strong leaders who try to call players-only meetings, and players don't really respect it, so it don't really work out. But typically players-only meetings, because at the end of the day, the guy next to you,
he's fast with it.
I don't know what's going on, but it's always your teammates are gonna get you to play well. Your coaches kind of coach you, but your teammates, you're gonna play better for the guy that know you care about him, and vice versa. So that's just what it is, man. I'm pro player only meeting all the way.
And one more flashback. Y'all's thoughts on Harbaugh and Connor Stallions? We hadn't talked about none of that. I know we're diverting away from Kentucky a little bit, but just it's still a big kind of pertinent topic. And the whole signs. How far can you go to steal? When is it cheating too much? Is Michigan the Houston Astros of college football?
Yeah,
where y'all
that's
at?
where I was going with it. Yeah, I don't all the new stuff with the other teams. I'm not going to get into that because I haven't read all that yet. But I'll just leave it at this. Like, I'm sure, Jalen, there have been games where you were able to pick up on defensive signs and vice versa, where defense had your signs, and that's part of the game if you do it organically.
Last Friday.
There you go. If you do it organically, there ain't nothing wrong with that. Same thing in baseball, before they implemented the pitch com, and now the signs are kind of out of the game. But when you use in baseball, when you use cameras and a trash can and all that crap, that's too far. The Astros pretty much got away with it, but besides the point, Michigan obviously sending someone to videotape the sidelines every game and do it. I don't know how many years, how many teams, and possibly getting other teams involved like that crosses a line. And, hopefully there's something where someone can step in and really inflict some pain here. Like there needs to be a punishment where this thing never happens again. It's not like baseball where again, I don't want to get into the whole Astros rabbit hole, but like baseball was able to kind of change the game with the pitch comp. There's nothing you could do about it in football unless you finally give the quarterback a chance to have plays in the helmet, and the same with a player on defense. But I just don't, from what I've heard, I don't think that's going to happen. So they gotta hit Michigan hard here. I wish the playoff would just keep them out this year, do something drastic. It's unacceptable from what I've read. Obviously, we'll see what the final conclusion is here, but the CMU thing, if that was really Connor Stallions on that sideline,
hilarious though.
That's wild.
That's hilarious.
It is hilarious, but it's freaking wild.
One of the funniest things I've ever seen.
Yeah. So something's got to give, man. Something's got to give. But look, Michigan's gonna until you have to assume going into this game Saturday, they know everything that's coming for them. Like Penn State, do they have a chance? I'm really curious to see how that game goes Saturday. If they dominate, Penn State has a really good defense. Ohio State, beat them, but it wasn't like Ohio State kicked their ass by any means or anything like that. If Michigan goes into Happy Valley on, in a whiteout and just knows what's coming and beats them to a pulp, I'm going to have questions. I wish I didn't, but it sucks for the players. I don't think they're the ones at fault, but there's got to be punishment, man.
Yeah. Starting with the CMU thing, man, I could not believe what I was seeing. It goes to show you how far people will go when they have resources. They will go far to get an edge, man. And you got people who are down for it. Obviously, Connor Stallions or whatever his name is, they will do a lot to earn their keep at a school like Michigan and try to get in where they fit in. And schools like Michigan with a lot of resources will do a lot to gain an edge. That's really, really, really serious. I think Lane Kiffin said it best. You're now getting into affecting wins and losses, big time. It's not like everybody sees a signal from across the field or you're in the box and you can steal the other team's signals. And now it's a race to get it down to your coaches and get the coaches to get it to the players in time before the ball snap. That don't happen often, right? You can start to get a clue, of stuff, but that's not as effective as to what Michigan was doing. So I think this is my thing. I think college programs should be punished in this way. Don't punish the players and keep them out of bowl season, keep them out of playoffs. Punish the coaches and deduct all bonuses from their contract.
Mm-hmm.
Cut their pay in half or whatever you want to do. Hit them where they hurt. Suspend them and take the money. That's where you hit. Coaches won't do it anymore if you do that. If you start taking their money, a large percentage of their money, and you start suspending them without pay, that's where you get them. Because at the end of the day, if I know that 60% of my salary is going to be cut if I get caught doing something, I probably won't do it. So that's just what it is. They got to start hitting them in their pockets, man. Don't punish the players. That 18-year-old freshman on the team has nothing to do with that. It's about what Jim Harbaugh agreed to doing, what Connor Stalions did. So take the money from him. You take the money from him, now you can start to gain some ground and fixing some of this stuff, in my opinion. Maybe not, though. We'll see.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I had to get y'all's thoughts on it because that's one of the other hot topics and didn't get to it last week. So.
Yeah, it's
knew
crazy.
It was still going to be hot this week, so might as well, it didn't hurt to miss it last week because we still get our 2 cents in on it today. But yeah,
Sorry, as soon as they play I don't know, Oregon or UW, and they don't have those signs in the playoff, their season will be over. So.
Yeah, and they got good the same time this started happening. It's just their level of play,
And the fact they didn't scout TCU, and TCU claims they use dummy signals, and then TCU's able to beat them. Like, there's a lot of interesting stuff there to make you question this Michigan run.
Yeah. So had to get that as well. Anything else on Bama that y'all wanted to get in, or anything from the coaches y'all heard? Or want to just jumping out, or we don't?
Yeah, nothing else crazy, man. I think we'll see where this game goes. I mean, would it surprise me if Kentucky gets blown out? No, that's more so a credit to Alabama. But I do think Kentucky can put up a fight. I think they have the right attitude this week where, I was a little concerned, as I think I mentioned last week, about some of the comments about not having fun and, needing to laugh more and all that last week. And, if the defense came out and responded, and the vibes seem much better this week. So, we'll see where things are at. And, again, like I said, the nice thing about this game is if you lose, it's kind of what everyone expected, and you have a big opportunity the next 2 weeks to still go 8-4. We'll see where Louisville's at, but you might have a chance to kind of put a sore spot in what's been a special season for them over there. So, even like last year I don't want to say after the loss to Vandy, the season was over, but it kind of just had a meh feeling the rest of the way. Whereas this year, even if they lose this game, I feel like there's a lot on the table, at least, for the last 2 games, and depending on who the bowl opponent is and what game it is.
Yeah, I think one thing stood out to me was I watched Liam Cohen speak yesterday, and just the reverence that really all of them, but just the reverence that they have for Coach Saban is pretty big. I mean, you can tell that coaches kind of concede to saying that Nick Saban is like such a good coach that I don't know if anybody can touch it. Like, the fact that, they just showered him with praise about how he's getting his team to play so, noticeably play harder than anybody else on film that they've seen. And the same thing with Georgia as well. So it always interests me, because what are they doing that, Kentucky's not doing it? What are they doing that, I don't know, Tennessee's not doing, or whatever? How are they getting their 5-star players to be 5 stars, coming in with egos and whatnot, and still play harder than everybody else? To still give that, they were really, kind of showering Alabama's defense with praise on how much effort they give snap to snap, from whistle to whistle. I think that's the best praise you can get. That's the best compliment you can get as a coach if you're Nick Saban, or as a defense if you're Alabama's defense. And I think that's, it goes to show you that there's a clear gap when it comes to coaching, man. I don't know what Nick Saban's doing that everybody else is not doing, but somebody need to study it, man, because it is amazing how, and Kentucky's coaches are not the only people that say this. Obviously, everybody says this about how, how physical they are, how fast they play, how much effort they give every play. And that is, that's very interesting to me because, everybody else has the same amount of time with their players as well. What are they doing to get that amount of effort, that amount of strain, that amount of physicality out of their players that, maybe somebody else is not doing? So, just from a coach, I always think that's very interesting. What are the secrets at the end of the day? There must be something that we don't know. Because, obviously, if you be on, Alabama has been on top for a long time. I remember being in ninth grade, watching Alabama saying, man, they finally, they getting this thing rolling. They finally, and I remember watching every game on Saturday. It was like, I know who's going to win. Why are we watching it? And I'm talking when they playing good teams. I know who's going to win. This is it's done. It's a done deal. And we were talking about it the other day as coaches, how, the fear factor that they had, and Georgia kind of has that now, but it's not to the degree that Alabama had it. Nowhere near, in my opinion. Alabama has such a fear factor back in 09, 10, 11, 12, 13. 14.
Really up until a couple of years ago. Yeah.
And now it's kind of gone now to that level. But, they had such a intimidation factor. They won most games before they even, stepped foot on the field. When the game was announced on the schedule, the game was already won. So I just think that's very interesting, man. And I'm sure that's where myself, a lot of other coaches aspire to get to, aspire to be able to have our players play to that level every play. That is excellence, man. And you got to respect it.
And you talk about sustaining that. You talk about what is he doing that everybody else isn't doing, and the fact that he's done it for all these years, and the fact all these assistants have come and gone and tried to take it to wherever they've went, and still for him to have all the staff changes and still keep everything at that level, whatever little details and stuff he does, and the people close to him that have left think they know what it takes. That's
it took Kirby a while to finally beat that man head to head too. Like his assistant, even the guys who he's coached with, they can't beat him.
Right.
It's wild. We're you kind of saw in the NFL that happened with Belichick, and then it finally lately, I think some of his, I know McDaniels went 2-0 against him. So, but Saban assistants, man, they can't even beat them head to head. And, some of them are having success elsewhere. I think, the one right now who's really popping is JMU's head coach. What's his name? Kurt something. He's a former Alabama guy there, and he's got it rolling at James Madison. But it just shows you what Nick Saban's doing is just even the guys he's coached up and he's assisted outside of Kirby Smart, they can't replicate that magic. It's just a different breed with Saban's got. It doesn't matter who's on his staff. It's not like Tommy Rees is America's best offense coordinator, but their offense is rolling the last couple of weeks. And then Kevin Steele was, he's a coaching vet. He's a well-respected guy, but I don't think anyone thought of that one as a home run hire either. And I think their defense, there was a stat out there where Ole Miss, Tennessee, and LSU in the second half have a combined 10 points against Bama's defense. So it doesn't matter who's coaching for him, who's playing for him. It seems like Bama's going to be Bama no matter what.
So containing Milroe, just for a quick, one more football thing. What is strong arm, running wild? LSU, Matt House's defense, and
well, they've been horrible this year.
My goodness, you're surprised to see that continue to happen. But how do you think Kentucky tries to approach him? Because he's, week 2, is he even going to be the starter?
Right.
So where he's at now, peaking at the right time, and they're fixing to make a playoff run, and let's they trip up somewhere. So the progress he's made has been dramatic.
Yeah, Jalen, you'll have a better answer, but I just want to put my 2 cents in quick. I think the key stat with this is that Alabama's given up, I think, 35 sacks, which is tied with South Carolina for the SEC lead. And I was asking around, like, is it Milroe? Is it the O-line? And it's kind of a combo of both. So my thing with that would be make them hold on to that. Wolford, yeah. Make them hold on. Well, they have 2 freshmen. The left tackle is a freshman, the left guard's a freshman. So that's something to watch. But with Milroe, you got to keep him in the pocket. And, there are going to be plays where he beats you because he has a great deep ball, but he only has a 64% completion rating. Like, that's not incredible. And, he holds on to that ball for a while. So if you're able to keep him in the pocket holding that ball, maybe you force a bad throw. Maybe you'll get beat once or twice down the field, but you have a better chance to force some incompletions, force a mistake throw, or maybe better yet, get home for a sack, because a lot of defenses have gotten home for sacks against Alabama this year. So that would be my thinking there, is let him beat you with his arm, even though he does have a good arm. But we'll see, how Brad White dials it up and approaches it.
Yeah, I said whatever you can do, man, to stop the run and to limit him in the scramble game, and I know it's way easier said than done, but whatever you can do to kind of make them beat you. If they throw for 350 yards, they throw for 350, but they cannot run for 200 and throw.
You can't let them do what Tennessee did.
Yeah, you can't allow them to do that. You got to make them one-dimensional, even if they beat you, which they are capable of beating you, being one-dimensional. That's going to give you the best chance to win. And again, this is way easier said than done. So people listen to this.
Oh yeah.
Don't take this and run with it. And if they lose, shove it up to coaches and say, hey, you got to make it one. Trust me, if it was that easy, everybody would do it. But you got to try your best to limit them in the run game. And that's quarterback run, that's quarterback scramble, that's traditional hand the ball off to the running back.
Yeah. And, the running backs, McLean is only averaging 4.5 yards per carry. Rodell Williams is averaging 5.4, but he's only at 73 carries. So the crazy thing with Milroe, man, is he's gained 531 yards on the ground, but his net is only 297. He said 234 sack yards that they've lost. You got it. Like, that's what I agree with you 100%, man. Like, make them one-dimensional and make it through the air. Alabama doesn't have the Devontae Smiths, the Henry Ruggs, the star wide receiver talent they're accustomed to having there. They have good receivers who are still probably better than most teams, but they don't have those. They don't have superstars walking through the door, first round picks, Jalen Waddle. The list goes on and on there. Like, I would force them to beat you through the air, and if they do it, it is what it is. It's Alabama, but I'd feel a lot better coming out of that game knowing, Kentucky just got, Milroe had his best passing game of the year, than letting them run the ball down your throats like LSU let them do last week and like Kentucky did against Tennessee.
Yeah. Well, the basketball side, the opening day, New Mexico State with 86-46. Second half, they exploded on them. 8-point game and a half, 49-17 in the second half. Small ball is working right now. That's the only choice they got. But hey, they're playing well together, man.
The second half was a lot of fun, man. Like the first half, I was kind of like, man, that was a slog. It was kind of slow paced, some more stall ball in there. There were some glimpses, like with Reed Shepherd having the dunk and doing some big things at the end of the half there. But it was kind of like, And then the second half, they're really hard to guard in transition, man. Like they need to, whenever the bigs get back, the big thing for me is it's not even like the spacing and the clogging. It's the tempo. Like you have to continue to fly up and down the court. That's when this Kentucky team is going to be at their best. And to have 4 guards finish in double figures on opening night, Rob Dillingham only played 19 minutes and scored 17 points. Like that's really impressive stuff. And I thought, the shot selection was much improved from what we saw last year. There were some questionable ones throughout the night, but for the most part, I was pretty happy with the shot selection. I really like how DJ Wagner kind of didn't let that rough first half shooting wise get to his head. He came out and he balled in the second half and was making felt like everything in the second half. I thought Justin Edwards did some good things, and Antonio Reeves only shot 4 for 10 from the field, and you still won by 40. Last year, he was being counted on to shoot 60% at the end of the year, and if he didn't, they were going to lose. So they've got a lot of different dudes in that front court or in that back court that can make things happen, and that was fun to watch. But I just think I love the way they're playing with this small ball. I don't know if it's going to be enough to beat Kansas or Miami, but I do think it's going to be it's going to be a fun product. And again, when they get those bigs back, especially Bradshaw can play that way. Like, that's what I've heard and I've seen, and the couple times I've gotten to see him play live. Like, you got to just keep this style of basketball. This is Kentucky at its best. This is how it was in 2017, which I think was the last elite Kentucky team where they were flying up and down the court. Like, this is fun basketball. So we'll see. Friday, they should take care of a really bad Texas A&M Commerce team, and then it's on to Chicago to play Kansas. So it'll get real fast, but really, really good start for this team on Monday night.
Yeah, I kind of got a good feeling about this team. Look, I love the way they play. I'm a big fan of just run and gun basketball. I just am.
It's way more fun to watch than the style of play they played last year.
No doubt. I think it's going to help. I don't know if you can even increase ticket sales more, but
they need it. There were some empty seats in that place. Like, you're totally right. They need it.
Yeah. So they'll do that with that style, and it's just, I don't know, man. It just feels like going to be a good year for them. Yeah. Just feel like there's a different vibe around the basketball program. I don't know if I'm just tripping or but that's what I feel. Not being in Lexington, honestly, not watching too much of them in the preseason. But what I have seen, it feels different. It feels like they got a chance to have a really special year. Whether that's win a national championship, who knows? But I think they'll have a good year and be able to at least push for one realistically. I think last year people kind of knew that. Probably not, but, I think this year, I think you got a, good chance. And I think they'll go and maybe beat Miami. I don't know about Kansas, but
that's going to be tough.
I think they'll beat Miami, man. But, it's good competition, good measuring stick at the end of the day. Get a chance to see who you are. We all know how Calipari teams work at the beginning of the year. It's a build-up.
It's a slog, yeah.
Yeah, and hopefully – they get to a point where they're playing their best ball once the meat of conference play get here, and they get a chance to go to conference tournament and see what they can do. I think got a chance to be a really good year, man. I'm excited to see some fast-paced, John Wall style, basketball. That's what I like to watch anyway, man. That slow style, pump fake screen pass,
it was boring basketball last year. It was boring basketball.
As a coach, I love the fundamental style basketball and the methodical and let's scheme you up. But as a basketball watcher, I want to see something that's run and gun, fast, explosive dunks, great defense, really high energy basketball is what I like to see. And I'm sure I'm not the only one. I'm sure the fans can attest to that as well.
And what I really love watching with this team, my favorite is the transition, but I guess my next favorite thing with this team is, like, even when they have the ball and it's not a fast break possession, it's just they get into their offense. There's movement at all. Everyone's moving. There's no stopping and posting up and waiting and calling for the ball. Everyone is moving, cutting, making things happen, and it's fun to watch. It led to some wide open looks on Monday night, and some were hit. Some they didn't have a great shooting night from deep, but they were able to connect on a couple plays that simply cutting and moving around on offense made happen. So it's definitely a more fun team. I'm worried. I'm definitely worried about the rim protection when they start, getting into the meat of their schedule. Even when the bigs come back, I think you might see some minute restrictions there, especially I don't even know when we'll really see Big Z or Ugo, to be honest with you. I think Bradshaw's the guy where you kind of circle and hope he can be back here maybe in a month or maybe even less than that. But like they're going to have to figure out a way to rebound a little better. But other than that, man, like they're I don't have anything I can't say that I don't like about this team. They play really hard. They really care about each other. They have a lot of fun out there. All things we couldn't really say last year. So I think Calipari's got the type of team he wants. I think it's the type of team this fan base kind of needs. I think like the vibe, at least my understanding of it, is some wait and see mode, like don't hurt me again mode, where they're trying to be optimistic around here. They really like this group, but they've been hurt so many times the last recent years. Like they're kind of letting it wait and see and develop. So, if they can go on, if they go to Chicago and beat Kansas, I think that would get this fan base really, really rocking and rolling. And you'd see a Rupp Arena that's kind of the Rupp Arena of old, because even Monday night, like I was talking to a lot of people, like the arena, unless Reed Shepherd was touching the ball or there was a big play, there was a lack of juice. Like the crowd wasn't that into it. There wasn't, when like New Mexico State wasn't having to think about the crowd noise. Like they were able to play through things. It wasn't all too loud for them. And, I know it's a non-conference opponent. I know tickets are a little expensive. The parking is outrageous this year. It's $27 for media to even park their cars, everyone. So it's insane. But I do think if you're able to go and get a road or a neutral site win over, the favorite to win the national championship, the number 1 ranked team, a guy in Hunter Dickinson that picked another school over you, whatever their next cupcake game is, I think it's Stonehill. That game might be sold out. Like that's the type of thing that could really get this fan base going again. So, yeah, a lot to like though. Really a lot to like. I don't want to be negative at all about it.
And styles make fights. Kansas is going to be very difficult with Dickinson, especially if
brutal matchup
with no bigs. But on the flip side, they'll have to chase Kentucky around. And will the size be able to, cancel out the speed? Something's got to give. We'll see.
Right.
Can the small ball, withstand all the size and the power? And Kentucky's got to guard them, but they got to guard Kentucky. So
yeah, they got to block out. That's the biggest key, is limiting possessions. Like Hunter's going to get his no matter what. Hunter didn't have his greatest game against Kentucky last year, and I think he still scored near 20, if not over 20. Like Hunter Dickinson's going to get his, but if you can limit their possessions, force some bad shots and rebound, like you have a chance to beat anybody. I'm just worried that they're going to give up too many second chance points in games like that.
And then if, unless, of course, Kansas could zone it up and play zone or whatever they want to, but you got Dickinson having to be out of the 3-point line trying to guard Mitchell, or if he gets switched out on Edwards, he could easily be in foul trouble trying to stay in front of those guys. So
that's what's nice. All 5 guys can pass, shoot, and dribble, like Cal keeps saying, but it's true. Like all 5 guys are capable.
Yeah, so Kentucky's, even though small, is capable of making life difficult on him as he is making life difficult on Kentucky. So it's just which style will win out. Be real interesting to see that, up there in Chicago for the Champions Classic.
Yeah, and I know it was an exhibition and it was a road game, but I mean, KU did lose to Illinois, in their exhibition in Champaign last week or whatever that was. So it's not like Kansas, and no one's invincible in college basketball this year or really anymore. Like those days in college, you still see it in football a little bit, not in basketball. So yeah, it's gonna be a late night at the United Center, but it'll be a lot of fun.
I mean, Michigan State lost last night. LSU's women lost last night.
Yeah, I thought that was actually more shocking because, like, James Madison, I saw they're picked to win their conference. Like, James Madison's a magical school right now. Like, they've always
they are balling.
Like they're ball. They were a FCS powerhouse. They moved to FBS, and it's like, let them bowl, man. Like, it's ridiculous that they can't go bowling, and because they would be in the and whatever I don't know what bowl game it is this year that a group of 5 team gets a buy-in, but they'd be the team representing group of 5. So that's a damn shame. But their basketball team I saw was picked to win their conference. That's always a tricky game right off the bat. But LSU with that super team losing their first game caught me more off guard than that, if we're being honest. Like that was that was shocking. I thought we were going to see one of those UConn or South Carolina runs from the ladies down in Baton Rouge, but that's a humbling one right there.
And I
probably
know
what they need.
And they'll hopefully, well, in their case, hope to reevaluate it now everybody feel the wrath going forward.
You know how mad that Kim Mulkey must be. I mean, there's not a more. She might be the most like. I say this as a great compliment. She might be the most competitive coach I've ever seen. Like at the there are competitive coaches. They're lunatics on the sideline, but that lady, man, like, is there a more fiery competitor on the sideline in college sports right now? Like, I don't think so. So those practices are probably a living hell for those girls right now.
And I know Colorado is very good. They're ranked.
Yeah, they're a ranked team.
20.
Yeah.
And the women's game is growing and is by leaps and bounds.
Oh, and the Final Four was so much fun. It was almost at times more fun than the men's Final Four last year.
No, for sure.
The Caitlin Cook game against South Carolina, amazing game.
Because just 5, 6, 8, 10 years ago, you would see a top 2 team in women's playing an 18-20 team,
right? And
it would still be a 30-point game. It's like you wouldn't see that as much in the men's side. 2 ranked teams is going to be a pretty solid game, but the gap is kind of closing. Everybody else is kind of rising up to where Connecticut is being, where LSU and South Carolina are. So where it's number 1, Connecticut's playing number 21. Iowa, and it's 87-40. That's not happening anymore in the women's game. It is. Everybody's getting more competitive. The girl last night that Magic Johnson was tweeting about and went behind the back, coast to coast, and did that. Oh, I mean, these ladies, they ain't playing, man.
Yeah, this is the most skilled that basketball players has ever been. Football players too. I just think the parity in college sports is what makes it.
Yeah,
good. I think it makes it even better because that was always the thing, right? Everybody would say, well, every week you have like 10 NFL games that are going down to the wire, and you don't have that in college. Well, now that's changing because I think, there's a lot of parity in college football, college basketball now.
Yeah.
To where you're seeing more competitive games. You're seeing teams that will usually go to, whoever and get beat by 60 in football, and they are able to compete now. And I think it's good for the sport, man. I think you have, and we're seeing it right now. I wish we had the 12-team playoff this year.
Oh,
it would be. Can you imagine? Can you imagine like Texas going to, I don't know, Oregon to play a game, or can you just imagine something like that, man? That'll be crazy.
I'll tell you the one group of people that are happy that the 12 team starts next year instead of that. It's the people that reside in Lexington and are UK fans because Louisville would get in this year, and I don't think that go over too well here. But other than that, yeah, I agree. Yeah. I agree 1,000%.
I'm not buying into the Louisville thing.
I'm just saying, like, their schedule, the way it sets up, like, even if I still think UK is going to win that game. We'll see.
No doubt.
If UK stinks against South Carolina, I'll change my mind on that. But
Kentucky win that game, man.
Yeah, I do as of now. Like the South Carolina thing, the only thing that could sway me is if Kentucky lays an egg against South Carolina, because South Carolina is. I watched too much of that Jacksonville State game. Like, they're terrible. Like, other Spencer Rattler's playing at a great level. Everything else about South Carolina sucks. But but just like hypothetically, if Louisville wins out in the regular season, and even if they lose to Florida State in that ACC title game, like they might finish 12, 11, right? Like they're 11 right now.
No, it's funny because
I had a road win against Miami.
Yeah, I do believe that they could beat Florida State though.
They match up a little bit. Yeah. But I don't think it's gonna happen, but they do match up a little bit.
I think it can happen, man. Florida State. I'm not buying into that either, man.
The thing I buy in with, I don't know about their defense, but I do buy in with Travis and the play, like Keon Coleman and the tight end Jaheim Bell. Like they've got some playmakers now. But the defense, you could sell me on the defense.
So yeah, Louisville's just gonna have to show us, basically, is what we've been saying.
Yeah.
And
I still don't know. Like, they haven't played anybody. That's the one thing. And they lost to Pitt, who's terrible. So I still think Kentucky, with their physicality, and I still think Kentucky's going to be the better team on the line of scrimmage. Like, until I see it, that's my rule with these picks normally. That's why I was so, like, even wary going into Starkville. So I'll stay the same, but I would be concerned if Kentucky goes down to South Carolina and loses, because then that'd be a bad sign. That's all I'll say. That'd be a bad sign.
Because it's a revenge game, and it's a bad team, and
worst defense maybe the worst defense in Power 5. Like, terrible defense. I know
USC. The other USC says hello.
Yeah, that's true. But from a pass defense, okay, we'll cut it to pass defense. Okay. South Carolina. Let me give you this real quick, and then I know we're running a little long here, but it's so embarrassing what their pass defense is. It is passing yards allowed. South Carolina ranks page 3. There they are.
Man, you find stuff so funny.
Yeah, they are. So only Colorado and Stanford are worse in Power 5. South Carolina is allowing 286.7 yards per game through the air. UW is actually down there at 121. I'm trying to find USC. Vanderbilt's at 112. USC, where's USC? They're not even on page 3. Like, they made it on to page 2. USC, where are they? Are they like good against the pass? There's no way. Anyway, South Carolina's pass defense is terrible. So that there's no excuse to lose that game. I know it's in Columbia. I know it might be a great environment. There's no excuse.
Yo, sounds good. With that, put a bow on this episode. Senior day, final home game. Pound beers and get ready.
Yeah.
For Bama, and we'll talk about all that. We'll talk about UK and KU, all kind of stuff going forward. It's that time of year, and we'll have it for you. And this episode, of course, will be up on the Sea of Blue as well. So everybody check that. If you missed this live stream or missed us tweet it out, the Sea of Blue has it up there. We appreciate that. Appreciate Aaron Gershon, Jalen Whitlow, and appreciate y'all listening and checking us all out. Everybody be cool. Got another episode of Believe in Kentucky, and we're going to hop on off of here and holler at y'all.